Hello, Chapter 7, Unit 2, we are talking about negligence. And so you've watched the videos on what it means to be negligent. You had a duty, you breached that duty, and you caused harm. But there are certain defenses to negligent conduct, okay? And what are those? There's three that we're going to go over: contributory negligence, comparative negligence, and something we call assumption of risk. So, what are they? Contributory negligence says, hey, you contributed to the negligence. Okay, so even if a defendant's 99% responsible for injuring someone, if the plaintiff is even 1% liable or responsible, then the plaintiff cannot recover. It's a very harsh rule. So let's say a drunk driver hits a pedestrian who crosses in the middle of the road rather than at a crosswalk. It's because the pedestrian was not using due care, and neither obviously was the drunk driver. In contributory negligence, the plaintiff would recover nothing. And so you can see it's a harsh rule because the drunk driver was a lot more responsible for injuring the plaintiff, but the plaintiff did not use due care as well. Okay, comparative fault says we have a pure comparative, which says if I'm less than 50% at fault, I can even recover. You can even recover. So if you're the plaintiff, and even if I'm less than 50% at fault, you can get the amount of damages that you're entitled to. So if the pedestrian's 99% responsible, they could still pursue compensation for a driver who's 1% to blame, but it's going to be only the 1% that they'll recover. Modified means you have to prove that the defendant was at least 50 or 1% to blame to even recover your 49 or your 50 or above percent. So if I'm going to sue you or you're going to sue me, we have to prove that you'd have to prove that I was at least 50 or 51% to blame. If I'm going to sue you, I have to prove that. Okay, then I can recover that 50, 51% or above what the defendant is to blame. Kansas uses a modified comparative fault. What that means is you compare to the negligence at the at-fault party, and then if it's less than the negligence of the at-fault party, the person recovers compensation, but at the amount it's reduced in proportion to that negligence. So basically you only recover what you can prove the percentage of negligence is. So if a party's own negligence is 10%, and they have 100,000 in damages, they sue someone, they're going to recover only the 90%. That person is at fault. Okay, so you only recover what you can, what you are not at fault for. The last defense is assumption of risk, and basically that's somebody assumed the risk of an activity. We have express assumption, and those are our contracts, and those are usually where you sign them and say that you're assuming any risk of the activity. And these for negligence will generally be, as long as they're not against public policy, they'll be held up in court. Remember, you cannot waive an intentional tort. Assumption of risk applies to negligence only. Implied assumption of risk is you are implied because that part of the harm is part of the activity. And this is things like boxing, or when you look at playing football, you're assuming the risk of injuries that are related to those types of sports. You're not assuming the risk of someone punching you. That's an implied tort, right? Or that is an intentional tort. But in negligence, if someone was negligent in their actions because they're harming you, then you would not be able to recover because you use that as assumption of risk. They would use that as a defense. So if you have any questions regarding the defenses to negligence, please reach out to me. Thank you.